Welcome, everyone, to the Transformative Language Arts Network virtual salon. I am your host, Amanda Faye Laxon. I graduated with my Master of Arts in TLA, and I am the outgoing membership and outreach co-chair on the TLAN board. For those of you who are new to TLA, the TLA network is a gathering place for people who change the world with words. We use the written, spoken, and sung word for personal and community transformation. This can take many different forms, from writing stories to poetry to memoir and more. Everyone who reads today is a member of TLA Network. If you like what you see today, we hope you join us at Kelly Dumar's monologue showcase, Voices of Healing and Transformation, a free online staged reading on December 11th, and take advantage of our sale on winter classes, 10% off until December 15th. That is next week. So Kelly's class is this week. 10% off until next week. The spring semester classes. I like winter. Winter session of classes starts January 8th, 2025, and there are just some amazing classes there. So please check it out. So we have a few housekeeping notes. There is no tolerance for hate speech, harassment, or bullying. This event is being recorded and will be distributed publicly, so please keep your mics muted during the presentation part of the program. However, please engage with the artists and community through the chat box. We will be collecting questions throughout the program for the Talkback with the artists after the performance. For the best viewing experience, please set your view to speaker on the upper right-hand corner if you're on your computer. Thank you so much, and please enjoy the TLAN virtual salon. Okay, first up, we have John Swainston, old favorite and veteran of the Army, but also of our virtual salons. He's been here from the very beginning. John started writing poetry to cope with feelings of isolation during COVID. He has had over 50 poems published with 3 awards. His first book of poems, Memory Box, was published spring 2022. You can keep up with John at johnswainstonpoet.com. Welcome, John. Oh, and please unmute.
That helps always when you want to talk. I'm going to read a couple of poems, 2 poems. It's the season, so we'll do Christmas of 1952. It was Christmas Eve. I would be 8 in 5 days. Up early to see what was under the tree. Nothing. Not a single thing. Not even a birthday present. Mom made the 2 one, less expensive. Never understood the logic. Mom shouted, "Breakfast!" We ate. I tried not to cry. Eggs, spam, toast, ugh. Dr. Seuss was totally wrong. I do not like eggs and spam. Mom, not eating the spam. Johnny, that's my you're in trouble name. Yes, you will. I did. Dad shouted, "Get dressed. We have to go feed the horses." Walked toward the barn. There were 3 stalls and runs, 2 with horses and 1 empty. It was not empty. There he was, with a very large red bow around his neck. Mom had snuck up behind me. That's Charlie. Merry Christmas and happy birthday, son. Dad just grinned. The follow-up poem. Charlie Horse. Charlie was my horse, stubborn as a mule. He always stopped to eat, not moving till he was done. When I put on a saddle, turned my back to cinch it up, he would nip me on my butt to hurry up. I learned a carrot in the back pocket saved a bruise. An hour's ride was always two, his only gait a slow walk, searching for a new spot to graze. On that beach we would ride, the sound of a drum as each foot struck the water always made me laugh. How fast he'd move. There was no food on the beach. So when I die, I hope we'll meet again on that beach. But now I wonder, do they allow horses in heaven? If they do not, let me say for sure, I want to go where they go. And thank you very much. It's my very favorite Charlie horse. Um, I would also like to invite all those that are here that are not members to join, because this is the fun you get to have when you're a member. You get to meet nice people, you get to interact with nice people, and have a lot of fun. So join.
Thank you so much, John. That was amazing. And John is always an amazing advocate for TLAN at large. And so we really appreciate you being here. So next up, we have Sharon O. Blumberg. Sharon O. Blumberg is a former junior high Spanish language arts teacher with an MS in education, now devoted to writing children's books. Her publishing credits include 4 children's magazines and some book anthologies. You can keep up with Sharon at SharonOBlumbergAuthor.com. Welcome, Sharon. Please unmute.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Okay, my piece, Dollhead. Strewn tickets trampled underfoot by horse players and whispering tales of hopes misplaced. My sister and I danced in that dust, collecting fragments of others' stories, discarded race tickets of lost races, our new trophies in an unknown contest. The horse races, where our parents sometimes took my sister and I, offered a world to some of dreams and to others, dreams undone. Soft serve ice cream cones sweetened our monotony, a creamy pause in our playful wanderings around the arena. But one of my greatest joys was the head of an old Barbie doll, battered, a time-forgotten relic, its hair chopped short and its nose chewed away by my artistic skills. It was enough to fill the space of boredom with no trace of any kind of grace. But nothing beat the thrill of me kicking it around at passers-by as we found ways to pass the time and amuse ourselves. The outside air as we exited the arena felt thick with echoes of horse hooves clomping like a promise, a distant hope carried by the wind. For some, that sound signaled triumph, the fleeting thrill of seeing their chosen horse come across the finish line. For others, it faded into the familiar ache of loss, a reminder of what could have been. What followed were the worn-out whispers from the cheering crowds of track-goers as we made our way out from the race park. But before leaving, I took out this toy that meant the world to me, I tossed and twirled it high up into the air, up and down, holding it between my small, restless fingers. The racetrack, with its roaring crowds and tense watchers, held no spark for me, but this doll head, this odd talisman of mine, was different. I tossed it high again, watching it spiral, a tiny object against a sky stained with fading light. It spun, it soared. I couldn't catch it this time. A tall tree greedily snatched it away. Time stood still. I screamed, wailing my lungs out over a toy so strange, yet so beloved. Track-goers shuffled past, their eyes fixed on fortunes yet to be won. My father snatched up an empty pop can from the ground, tossing it at the tree. Then other horse players soon joined in, hurling empty pop cans up at the old tree as a chorus of clangs rang out to the rhythm of perseverance and play. They tried desperately for that one more win. It was a moment absurd yet beautiful, aimed at the tree thief that had stolen my beaten up toy as I continued screaming away. My father could have told me, "You threw it up in the air, so deal with it." Maybe he understood the fruition of my idleness, and the preoccupied track-goers could have ignored a child's tantrum. My father's can won the contest. It knocked my doll head to the ground, returning it back to its not-so-responsible, tear-streaked face owner. Decades have passed, 3 houses moves, states crossed. My doll head now rests peacefully in my top dresser drawer. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Next up, we have Tasjha Dixon. Tasjha lives in Kansas City, Kansas, and is a social justice advocate of over 20 years. They're a therapeutic yoga teacher of over 10 years, Buddhist, and member of their local Sangha over 15 years ago. Welcome, Tasjha.
All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Thumbs up. Okay. All right. This piece is titled, "My Body is Sad." My body is sad. She whispers her sadness to me, set adrift, surfing on the exhale, but I can't swim. But I'm good at drowning, and I'm even better at breathing under the water. Y'all remember that game where you would try to see who can hold their breath for the longest under the water? It's always been easier for me to hold, harder to let go of, easy to understand, but difficult to make sense of. My feet are hot. Oftentimes, my day ends with watering my roots, filling the tub with cold water, and stand. But dry ice burns, and the doctor said to use eye drops, but I didn't tell him that I cry every day, so I didn't need to fill the prescription. But I've been prescribing, and the earth is sharp under my left heel. They said it's a heel spur, a bony growth. Or is it just my foot building itself stilts? The same way the ocean is threatening to the houses on the beach. I have lines traced through the sand. My son used to draw on my legs, and I couldn't bring myself to throw away his art. And it seems to brighten with time. I thought it would fade, and it did. But like the moon that meets each new day, going away, making room for the light. And with this migraine, I'm in a dark room, stopping as the day starts. I trip over my feet often, but I rarely fall. But I'm laying on the floor and he's on top. Humidity is oppressive, and my skin stays dry. Organic coconut oil helps to retain moisture, but I always have cotton mouth. Covering my mouth with my shirt, biting down on it, I remember that it's not soundproof. I sing loud in my room with doors and windows wide open. My heart is closed, but my heart is close. I just sent out an APB to look for her. Happiness going the wrong direction. I'm okay. I'm not mad. I just have RBF. They say rest is for the weak, but I teach restorative yoga twice a week. I'm so tired and I need more rest. Yoga Nidra is my melatonin. We get gummies, but I get the gummies. Maybe one day we will swallow the big pill, but today I still spit. Thank you.
Thank you, Tasjha. Next up, another favorite at our virtual salons. Judy was in our very first one. Maybe it's a year and a half ago. I don't even know right now, but Judy Fort Brenneman is a story meddler and enthusiastic supporter of TLAN. An award-winning author, playwright, occasional poet, and longtime writing coach with expertise in helping writers who have interesting neurologies. You can keep up with Judy at greenfire-creative.com. Welcome, Judy.
Thanks, Amanda, and welcome to everybody here. The piece I'm going to read today actually began life as a response to a writing prompt in a TLAN class. It was taught by Lynn Ford, and it was called Fantastic Folk Tales. And I have been taking TLAN classes for a very long time, and I still use the materials from every single one of them. It's great fun. Today's piece is called Body. I hate my body. There, I've said it. I know I should be grateful that I have a body. I could have been reincarnated as a squid deep in the ocean, where I'd never see sun and sky. Or maybe as a mayfly, destined to live for a single day, less if I fluttered too close to a hungry brook trout. Not nearly enough time to think enlightenment, let alone achieve it. Oh, any number of unsavory creatures could have been my fate. And you must understand that in my earliest years, I rejoiced in my own body, grateful every day for its strength and beauty. I glistened and gleamed. The pattern of my colors would make a rainbow jealous. Well, yes, I suppose there was some vanity involved, but I was young. And besides, everyone around me thought I was beautiful. Quite a handsome little egg, they'd say. Yes, you're handsome too, and I'm sure you will be even more handsome when you've grown. Of course, I look fine now. I'm not complaining about this body. This body is fine. It's the other. I've already explained it only happens when I am aware of what molting is. Just because I don't doesn't mean, yes, I suppose it is similar, a kind of molting. The first time was terrifying and painful. I'd heard the old stories, of course, just as you have, but I never believed them. I thought they were made up just to keep us from getting into trouble with the pteranodons. No one warned me about how everything stretches and shrinks at the same time. When I saw my reflection, the thing I'd become was horrible, skinny and naked like an aqualop, and small, smaller than the egg I'd been born from. The waiting was hard. It still is. Reversion can take weeks, months even, and there's no way to tell when exactly it will happen. I've tracked and measured every variable possible and have yet to find anything that reliably predicts when I'll return to my true form. Fortunately, I've gone through it often enough now that I recognize the signs that it's about to begin, and there's usually enough time to sequester myself so they don't get suspicious. They are a rather violent species with a low tolerance for these sorts of things, and I have no desire to engage them in open conflict when my defenses are so weak. No armored scales, no talons, no wings, barely any teeth, and smooth skin that punctures easily. It's useless as well as ugly. It is a peculiar species, one that loves to hoard much as we do, but is ill-equipped to do so. They build their caves above ground instead of the more sensible hollowing out of mountains, and they are incapable of flight. Well, of sustained flight. I have seen them attempt it, leaping out from great platforms and cliff edges. The result is invariably disastrous. Benefits. Yes, I suppose so. I do not understand it, but many of the females pursue me, wanting me as their mate. Such couplings in their species are quite common and not unpleasant. The problem arises when they want to stay on. It's awkward. If they discover me in mid-transformation, they are at great risk. They do not understand the risk, and how could I tell them? I cannot, obviously. It is during these times that I myself am most vulnerable, unable to tell what I am, which way I am going, my limbs akimbo, my tail as likely to pummel as to embrace, my talons and wings confused. The first time a maiden accompanied me, with her family's blessing, it should be noted, I accidentally stepped on her. Mortified, I hid myself away, sending servants to inform the family of their daughter's unexpected demise. Alas, this scene repeated itself many times over the centuries, and I fear it may have given rise to rumors about my true form, not my true nature. For my true nature is one of peacefulness and nonviolence, not malevolence and destruction. Thank you.
That's awesome, Judy. I just kept like pulling out lines like, regarding transformation in there. And I think, this is as we get into this holiday season and upcoming new year, I think it's very relevant. The transformations we're all going through. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Elizabeth Page Shepley. Elizabeth is a writer and storyteller, creative living coach, and healer supporting other helpers, healers, and artists. Elizabeth, through her stories, poems, and prayers, Elizabeth shares a message of hope and healing with a voice that loves so big a stranger can feel it and perhaps take their own inspired action towards creative recovery. You can keep up with Elizabeth at owl-create.com. Thank you. Welcome, Elizabeth. Please unmute.
Thanks, Amanda. I was going to start with I'm reading 2 micro memoirs that were born from a TLA class, and I was going to start with the other one, but given the through line here, I'm going to start with one that's somewhat of a work in progress with a working title called Likeness. I've seen this face in the mirror a million times, and I have refused to see her exponentially more millions. Stamped with my daddy's cheeks, his smile, I am the spitting image of James. Evident even when I refuse to look at myself, red-faced, not wanting to be angry, resentful, or mean, so shoving it down my esophagus, eroding the tissue with chronic burning. I just wanted peace and love. What if I was just another art-making hippie freak here to spread love and peace? Would my daddy be proud of me? Mama told me she knew me before I was born. She knew I was different, but different was scary to me. I just wanted to belong. But my mama fed me affirmations long before that became a buzzword. You are witty and clever. You are funny and smart. You have a good heart with so much love to give. Looking in her eyes, I believed it. Looking in the mirror, I only saw a round red face with an uneven smile, woolly eyebrows, and thin lashes above hazel eyes, features unworthy of amplifying with eyeliner or other paint sticks. I kept looking for signs of Roxanne's daughter in that face. Mama's piercing blue-green eyes turned blue-gray as I left childhood and as she entered a new phase of womanhood with the wildness of body and mind that comes as biological fertility falls away, making space for a new kind. A kind of boldness grew in her, and looking me in the eyes one day after school, she told me she's leaving the marriage after over 25 years of fighting for it. Was he cheating? I was observant, and I was clever and smart, but I had it wrong. Infidelity was somehow an easier story to take than one that painted my daddy as a hypocrite, unable to succeed at something he'd put his mind to doing. But he was also the first to admit himself a better coach than player. Apparently, one hit was all it took to crack a man's willpower. My red cheeks filled with fire. I had judgments. I had anger to hide with nowhere to hide it. My mama took my face in her hands with those cool eyes and said we would all be okay. We never had a fireplace, but she did her best to keep that cozy warmth in the harshest conditions. She was the structure that held the fire and fought it back when it got out of control. I wanted to believe her. Today, my eyes show up as a blue-gray-green behind contact lenses, usually hidden between thick, colorful glasses frames. These eyes look new and familiar at once. From across the veil, I felt my mama's hands cradle my face and her forehead lean in on mine, and I saw her likeness in my face for the first time. That likeness that I've always embodied with a heart just like my mama's. The second piece is called Back to Life, Shifting from Mindless Motion to Mindful Morning Magic. Releasing the dial at 5, the burr grinder launches into a gentle rumble, dropping and crushing coffee beans into a medium grind and pumping the air with promises of possibility and enchantment. Cold water fills the percolator reservoir from the tap in sync with the grinder until its dial reaches 0. Closing the faucet valve, the water stops at the 12-cup line. Stillness rushes over the kitchen for a moment, creating space to wander. 0 water flushing through the pipe with a simple gesture, a simple machine, a lever, flowing water, indoor plumbing. 0 motion beyond the rise and fall of my chest until the choice to move again. Sweeping up the tank and dropping it into position on the percolator with one hand, and with the other, swiping the freshly ground coffee collection and tapping it into the reusable filter, pressing the power button. A series of choices choreographed into a dance performed hundreds of times, and one that brought me back to life, that brings me back to life every day. Life as a breathing human being in a sensory experience with magic all around me, where beans are imported from exotic locations, and this machine sits on my counter converting electrical energy and raw materials into a warm brown elixir to soothe my waking spirit. Eyes and heart wide open and awake, my shoulders bounce with the gentle beep of the pot as it burps the last bit of water through the filter, signaling the end of this cycle that launches the 2-hour countdown for when the power will be cut to the burner and the house will be safe from the risk of burning down. I pour 2 cups of this protective potion, and in an act of service, I show my partner love in their language. Together, we sip and calibrate our systems as co-creators of this day. Thank you.
As co-creators of this day, that's amazing. And my shoulders bounce. It was amazing. I love it. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Thank you. And read your comments because people are pointing out lovely lines throughout your reading. Okay. All right. Next up, we have Claire Coenen. Claire is a writer and teacher. She has, throughout her life, she has experienced the creative process as a path toward healing, peace, and wonder. She is reading today from The Beautiful Keeps Breathing, which is her first collection of poems. Keep up with Claire at www.clairecoenen.com. Welcome, Claire. Please unmute.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. I'm going to be reading 3 short poems. The first one is from my book, The Beautiful Keeps Breathing, and it's called The Little Girl Sees Her Grandmother, in memory of my grandmother, Grandmimi. She pours sunlight over the hickory outside the kitchen window. She shakes the highest branches with the gust of her love. She blazes the brightness of the grapefruit we share at breakfast. I am whole in her gaze. She is the bowl that holds the juice. The second poem I'm reading is called A Note for You in the Wilderness. I promise this forest will not entangle you forever. Like sun rays trickling through the branches, illumination will arrive. The painful terrain will soften beneath your feet as your soul learns the secrets of suffering and love. Lanterns and cairns will emerge on the trail, and voices of other travelers will break open the void. In time, your vision will refine to see the piles of mud and moss as the homes of fairies who cherish your choice in risking laughter. With intuition, you will sense the dandelions delighting in your wishes and the magnolias billowing wisdom in the blossom air you breathe. Until you inhale this peace, trust that no human is evergreen. The little deaths, the traps, the broken hopes in these woods force you to the soul depths most choose to avoid. Yet in the deep and dark, the angels will keep you, attend to your wounds, and teach you to root, to reach, and to shine your only you fragrance. And then the last poem I'm going to read is actually called A Note for You in the Wilderness Again. And this is a poem I recently wrote that is sort of a sequel to the one I just read. A note for you in the wilderness again. No one wishes to return to the tangles of these woods, but the soul travels on a spiraling path and will call you back to the painful terrain. Shadows will trick your serious eyes, and secrets will always nip at your heels. Do not try to be a saint. Claim the night of your fragile existence, dust of footprints, aching bones. The thicket of living cannot be denied, and healing refuses a quick, straight line. Walk within the metaphor of autumn as scarlet leaves light up the trail. Follow the ceaseless hymn to the river where wings of the heron echo the angels and sycamores glow in falling light. Surrender your weariness into the ground until you trust the mysteries of soil where springtime hides in buried seeds and your darkest curse may bear wild blessings. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Claire. The way that you read your lines like makes it like feel really important. Like I'll ask it at the end, but it's something that like made me think about how important it is to lift these words off the page. I mean, reading your words are lovely as well, but yeah, the oral experience of like your words is lovely. So thank you so much. All right. Next up is Oyah. No more introduction needed. If you've been to most of our salons, you have seen Oyah. You can keep up with Oyah on Instagram. I can't pronounce this, but it is going to be in the chat. So I'm not, yeah, I don't want to butcher it. So welcome, Oyah.
It's writer woman.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I don't know why it was not coming to me today. So I apologize. One moment.
Jericho and the walls came tumbling down. That that video was taken the night before. So it would have been, I think, August 5th or August 5th. The night before Dr. King was going to march to Marquette Park in Chicago. The reason why I open with that is because the day was August 6th that the march took place. But more importantly to me at that time, my birthday was August 3rd, and I was turning 6 years old. It was a really, really, really big deal for me. My mother wrote out invitations, and she allowed me to go to my friend's house and hand out invitations and invite them to my birthday party. And she made a beautiful cake, and we had the crystal bowl of punch, and we were all lined up at the table with those pointy hats on and that string like elastic under your chin. And it was just, I felt special, and I love my birthday anyway, but that particular, it was an energy, just not, it wasn't just my birthday, but there was a big energy. I didn't know what the big energy was about being 6 years old. I thought, it was about me. But anyway, so the next day, maybe is when my mother started this cleaning. She was like mopping and washing windows and washed some of the curtains and changed the linen on the bed. And, we were helping her, me and my sister and my brother. And I didn't know why, because, the celebration had already happened. So I didn't really understand what this was about. But anyway, she continued. And then on the 6th, August 6th, she told me to put my party dress on. So I got my party dress, my ankle socks, my black patent leather shoes, and it's like, oh, maybe this is part 2 of my birthday. I don't know. But it was pregnant. The air was pregnant. And when I stepped out on the porch, I realized it wasn't just my mother cleaning, but everybody on the block was coming outside, and some of the men had hung the flag out, and like on the 4th of July and stuff. And our neighbors, Miss Annabelle and Mr. Britt and Miss Thomas and Miss Cage, who knows everything and sees everything you do, whether you wanted to or not, were all outside on their porches. And it started slowly. There was a caravan of cars that were coming, and everybody, just like a hush fell. And my mother said, as this particular car rolled by and looked in our direction, and my mother said, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And then there was just a silence. For a brief moment, it seemed like everything just stood still. And then the caravan continued on. But I was forever changed. I wanted to know what kind of man gets my mother to speak in such reverent tones. My mother, she didn't take no stuff, she didn't play. She was not one for reverent tones. But that man took her to a place, and not only her, everybody on the block. It was a transformative experience, and I'll never forget it. So when I came upon that that YouTube video, I'm like, you know how we used to say, that's Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., because you had to say it all in one fell swoop. But, I've grown, and I believe, and, you come here with a lot of your traits and everything, but I believe that day entered my heart. I already loved, but I began to love bigger and more and harder. And through it all, through all the challenges and everything else, I have found that only the love is real. And that's my story.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Oyah, as always. Okay. Everyone can see this, right? Okay, great. All right. Our final performer today is Tracie Nichols. You may know Tracie as the managing director for Transformative Language Arts Network. She writes a lot of the emails that you receive. And she is also a poet and facilitator. Please keep up with Tracie at tracienichols.com or read her work in these anthologies and poetry publications that she has listed here. Welcome, Tracie.
Thank you, Amanda. Okay, just checking in to let everyone know I've had a cold, so the voice may or may not be with me for the whole time. Also, I need to pause just a moment and say, oh yeah, oh my God, I'm in tears, and that's making me even harder right now. But thank you for everything you just said, and to everyone else who has presented tonight. So I'm just going to start with a little context about the poems I'm going to read. My poetry tends to be extremely short, so like so many survivors of abuse, my experiences pushed me outside my body. They fragmented me, which at first helped me survive, but then, of course, it didn't. So I relearned my body and mapped the fertile ground of embodiment by connecting with the more than human world, the great green wild, and began crafting a collage of myself. Wordscapes began to unfurl themselves from my bones, sparked by this deeply felt connection with trees and stones and streams and all things wild. So this is a gathering of 4 or 5 poems, depending on how many I read, from a current project that combines these body-based poem snippets with the idea of assembling art from fragments. Phrases are reused in new ways in new poems, like the earth reuses leaves when they fall. Each new poem has a life of its own, yet is interwoven with the ecosystem of its companion poems. The first poem is Spring Breaks. Sap forced to rise, to relinquish its sugar for tiny, tight-furled leaves. Chickadees trace droplets of song from bough to genuflecting bough. I roll the sweetness of life across my tongue, sip new air, speak rivers and mountains. Half the world is breaking. How can you not? The next poem is Anita's Diagnosis. She lives out along the corrugated edge of awareness in the long, slow forgetting. Next poem is Recovery. White pine branch script scrawled across skies no longer spitting snow. Chickadees trace droplets of song from bough to genuflecting bough. And a friend, back after months of hospitals and hell, begins the long, slow forgetting. The next poem is The Mercy of Leaves. Chickadees trace droplets of song from bough to genuflecting bough, a reverence of sound and movement. Out along the corrugated edge of awareness, life from death from life, the mercy of leaves, a million verdant voices aligned. Everything that matters is here. And the last poem, Essential. Deep in the fertile ooze, oxygen is not optional. I roll the sweetness of life across my tongue, speak rivers and mountains from between my legs. This forest has made me her own. Everything that matters is here. And I will give credit to Clarissa Pinkel Estes and to Joy Harjo for inspiring some of those lines. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracie, and thank you, everybody. Please, everybody, feel free to turn on your mics, give big claps. This is so beautiful. Thank you all. I really appreciate it.
Wonderful. Everybody was beautiful. Thank you.
Gorgeous, gorgeous work. So now we are at the Talkback portion of the program. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. But I wanted to start with the artists, and I alluded to it earlier, asking about like the orality of our words. And you know, it's interesting that I haven't asked about this in all of the virtual salons we've done. But for you, how does reading your work aloud, and especially to people, how does that transform you, your writing process, or both?
Oyah, you want to go ahead first?
No.
I was going to say, reading aloud is one of the ways that I figure out if something is actually working as a story or as a poem, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. And for this piece specifically today, because it felt to me like a monologue, I also bring in performative aspects. I don't have a lot of experience with that, but I have some. That helps me do things like pare it down and take out some of the verbal hemming and hawing that really doesn't need to be in a finished draft. When you read to an audience, it takes it up another notch, because even on a format like Zoom, you get a sense of what people are reacting to. Does this actually work? So I can write for myself and have great fun with that. If I want my work to go out into the world and do something, whatever that something is that I hope for, it actually has to connect with human beings, right? And reading aloud, just like storytelling is a performative art, that's part of how we know. That's how we develop the work. So for me, it's both an internal sense of how the piece works and also this immediate feedback that you get that says, yeah, you're on the right track, or oh my gosh, take it away and work on it some more, or find something else to do with your hands, you know, that kind of thing. So for me, that's what it is.
That's amazing. Thank you. Go ahead, Sharon, please.
Okay, yeah, I guess I'll just jump in. Well, first of all, thank you, everybody, wonderful family and friends, for attending. Means so much. Thank you, Amanda and Amy Gross, for reaching out in the TLA network. I just have to say too, I've been inspired a lot by Kelly Dumar, who introduced me to this whole world of photo essays, monologues, open mic, journal of creative expression, creative writing, and all that. So I have to say that this particular piece went through a lot of different writing classes. The most recent, which was very wonderful, was Liz Chesla. I think, I don't know, she might be here. I took her micro
Liz is
memoir
here.
yes, micro memoir class through WOW Online Writing. And I worked with a lot of different pieces. She kind of, told us about this program tonight, and I was trying to run by different things, and she kind of recommended this particular piece, and I was glad she did because I thought it had so many cool elements from my childhood about the nature of human kindness, and even though people have their own interests, there's so much loving kindness exhibited in this piece. So it really was a great choice. And I'm also just so honored to be writing among such wonderfully talented people that just it's so riveting and powerful and just beautiful. So I just have to say how honored I am. And I really didn't practice too much, but I just felt confident once I really finished this piece that it would hopefully come across effectively by me reading it and conveying ideas to everybody that's listening, watching. So again, I just have to say thank you so much for all of this being put together. It meant a lot to me.
Thank you so much, Sharon. And Liz is here. And I was introduced to like the word micro memoir at the TLA banquet fundraiser that we had, and Liz did like a short intro to like we got to like do a little bit of micro memoir, which was super fun. But you did a beautiful job, Sharon. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Everyone else too.
Would anyone else like to talk about how speaking your words not into a void to a people transforms your writing?
I think for me, Amanda, because I'm a hardcore introvert. So this is way outside my comfort zone. But at the same time, it allows me to, when I make the connection that I'm speaking to people, it's a whole different energy. So it allows me to hear the poems differently. And I think I find new presence in them. So as the poet, I find new things in the poem. And then as a human, I find joy in the fact that there are people listening, and feeling heard for a wee bit of time.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Did you want to say something on the? Oh, just unmute. But yeah.
I don't know why when it's your turn, then you suddenly can't find mute or you can't make it do anything you want it to do. I just really love TLAN and the people that I've met and the classes that I've taken and going to the conference. I don't think it's anything that has just like the vibration in the writing groups. It's warm, and so I'm so glad that I found you all, and yeah, that's all. Everybody was great too, and everybody has their individual rhythm, and it's and then it's all of us on this grid with our wonderful selves, and that's a good look too, looking at everybody. So it's been great. Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, thank you, Oyah, as always. Claire, did you have I saw you nodding along, and because the way you read your pieces, it was what inspired me. Would you like to speak about this?
Yeah, thanks. I was hearing Oya's words, vibration and rhythm, and I think for me, so much of what is helpful and healing and alive about poetry, and also just any sort of um verbal sharing of creative work, is that you get to feel the vibration of it and the resonance. And I think for me, when I'm reading a poem aloud, um I'm wanting sort of the poem to kind of carry me in a way. And I always think about how first and foremost, I'm writing a poem for myself. It's kind of like my own therapy, and I'm telling myself what I need to remember. And so, I think whenever we're reading work aloud, we're not only reading it to other people, but we're reading it to the kid inside of ourselves, or the tender place, or kind of whatever part of ourselves needs to hear it. And it's a special thing to be able to do that in community.
I love that. Thank you so much, Claire. Tasjha, did you want to share on the topic? Because I saw in the chat that you do a lot of spoken word. So yeah, talk to us.
Um, so I don't really know what to say, but I did just want to mention I don't know that I got her name. Elizabeth, I don't know what Elizabeth looks like though. I forget who that lady was. But anyways, if it was Elizabeth, she had me crying. I was sitting over here, face wet, everything about her reading. So the words she said, the way she used her voice, to really kind of modulate what she was saying and such. My gosh, that was just, I mean, everybody was fascinating, right? But something about that piece, and maybe I'm just kind of in that space right now where I needed to hear those words and I needed to feel that emotion. So everybody was beautiful. I just loved it so much. So yeah.
Beautiful. John, go ahead. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, I like reading the poetry because it allows you to give soul to the message.
Oh, about that.
You can emphasize the word, can't pronounce that right. You can take a word that by inside your head, it doesn't have that, whether it's volume or meaning or saying it softly. It's like acting. It's like being on the stage and acting. You're putting the soul into the poem. You're making it alive. And that's why I really enjoy reading them. I also, I have to, it's the way I edit. I have to have the poem read to me. So I use Microsoft's review process that reads the text to you. And I use that because I have a bad habit of using what I call my sin words. The one I use the most is just, and I can't stand it in a poem. And they always creep in, just and very. It was a very good day. It was a good day. You don't need very. So I have those sin words and when I have it read to me, I catch them, and the grammar and the spelling and all the other things. So I just really enjoy it because it's fun.
That's awesome. It's like you're your first audience. Like, but I never thought about like the, the like
Yeah.
voice to text thing, having it read to you that way. That's awesome. That's
Not that
awesome.
I'm an introvert.
Right. Not that any of us are introverts, obviously. Elizabeth, would you like to share?
Thank you, Tasha. I do want to share. Everything has changed in my writing process since I took Liz's micro memoir class. For one, I never thought I was a poet because I hate the revising poetry part of poetry writing, right? And it's because when the poem falls out, I kind of like it, right? But what I started to learn when I found maybe the right for me form of micro memoir, I'm like eager to sit down. I'm eager to share it out loud so that I can hear what wants to be changed and what comes alive. And the part where I'm reading it aloud is actually, like, John, I really appreciated hearing you say you wanted it read back to you, but the process of reading, like every draft, because I've written this thing over and over and over, and the piece about the likeness in the mirror started just as a note, a voice note on my phone, like at the actual moment of encountering my mother's eyes. And over a year ago, almost 2 years ago, a voice note on my phone. And then micro memoir, this class with Liz, like really gave me the scaffolding, the form, the structure, the community to revisit that really emotional time. And like, that's one of the big reasons I'm so grateful that I have landed among you all here at TLA. And again, in some crazy wave of synchronous shenanigans, because of a student of Kelly Dumar, who I showed up as an audience member to witness the performance of her monologue. And if she happens to be in the audience and wants to own that, that would be awesome. But that's her story. And now, like, that person's a huge part of my life, and I'm here pursuing the TLA certification and actually learning to embrace the craft. Thank you, Alyssa. The craft of writing, like the practice of writing, not just writing to process in the moment and then keep it shut in a journal somewhere, which is this new chapter. It feels good. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And Liz, I hope you're proud of your students here today. Yes. You're welcome to unmute and chat about like say something if you want to.
I want to say how blessed I feel to have had this group and this opportunity to hear your stories, and that so many of you are here tonight sharing and listening and supporting each other. I'm just overjoyed.
Thank you so much. What was the question I was gonna ask? Wait. Yeah, one of the things that like Elizabeth, you just said about journaling and like, having the writing be the process. I mean, I think all of us like can relate to that for sure. And that's like a huge part of the TLA process. But then for TLA, what I have loved about TLA over the years is that it also wants to engage community. And so this has been like a space where we, where I'm trying to like, give you all a space for that. And so I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're sharing your work because, like, when you do, as you saw with Tasjha and other people who haven't necessarily voiced it yet, it resonates, and that is super powerful, and is a community gift. So, yeah, that's what I had to say about it. Okay, does anyone in the audience have any questions that they would like to pose to specific artists or everybody? Or any of the participants? Do you have questions about each other's work? If not, I am going to ask a question that was very popular at our last salon. And it comes from Ashley, who has been doing all the like chat and putting everything in the bios, and she is my right hand like, when we're planning these salons. So thank you, Ashley, as always. Ashley's question is what is a question that you would love to answer about your own work to the participants? And anyone can take it if you want. What? I see John is confused. Okay. Are you confused about the question, or you're not sure what the question would be? Okay.
I guess I could take that.
Awesome. Thanks, Sharon.
I guess, yeah, just, especially childhood reflections. Boy, it would be so nice if we could look at our future selves, looking back at us and just realizing how much to be appreciative of at the moment, thinking of myself as just a screaming, wailing little child, and just so thankful to get this doll head back, not thinking of everything that went into it. Not just my father starting to throw cans, but everybody else that was involved in their own worries and concerns. And they just, that's kind of what made it all happen. And I wish I would have appreciated that at the time and really been able to take it in the right way rather than just, oh, thank God, okay, I got the doll head back, I can stop wailing now and stop crying. Thank goodness it came back to me. So I guess that would be nice if we could revisit or go time travel to our future selves and really appreciate the moment in so many different ways. I guess that's kind of a cool reflection, at least to visit in my mind with this particular piece, especially. So,
Jenny, please.
I have a question that I've been asking myself, and I wanted to throw it out for everybody else as well, which is that I think a lot about the transformative part of transformative language arts. And I can't decide whether the transformation happens in myself in doing the work, or if it is happening to the people around me and what's happening, what they're getting from the work. I mean, obviously it goes back and forth, but I often thinking about the transformative aspects of it, I'm thinking about what the focus is, where the center is, and how to get at that. How would I get at that?
Can I dive in and say something?
Please, of course.
I think this is a really interesting question. And my short answer for this is something I wrote long time ago, which is that I truly and honestly believe that our stories can and will change the world, and they change the writer first. And I don't know that there is a center. That may be a difference in how we look at the world, perhaps. For me, the idea that I don't actually go into my work saying I want to transform, I want to change. I just follow my nose. I say, what is the thing that is calling my attention right now today? What is the thing I'm really pissed up, pardon the language, pissed off about? What is the thing that caught my attention? Where am I getting an emotional hit at this moment? And I kind of begin there. It's sort of like starting with an event, or starting, for me, it's almost always something environmental. And then I follow it wherever it goes. And at some point, I discover that, oh, well, that's different. And I am changed even if I don't realize it. And when I share the work, or if I share some aspect of myself through my coaching that has been impacted by the creative work, my own creative work that I'm doing, then that sharing, that going out into the world, has the potential to help others to transform something else. And how directed I get with that depends on the work that I'm doing. It depends on whoever I'm connecting with. I mean, to me, that's very amorphous and malleable. So because it is malleable in that way, I don't think of to me, the way that centering often, or this kind of what is the center, often feels to me as like it's supposed to be this thing that is really solid and reliable and predictable, and it's not for me. I don't think it ever has been. So it's something that moves where it needs to move to. And when I'm done with a piece, when the piece is doing the work it's supposed to do, then I'm done with it. It's like maybe it's got a center with itself over there somewhere, but not with me anymore. I don't know if that makes entire sense or not, but there's a very strong kinesthetic feel for me for a lot of this stuff. So for whatever it's worth, I keep changing. The work keeps changing. Other people around me change. I think that's a good thing.
When you mentioned the environmental side, it reminded me, it's coming to fall, or we're coming to winter and leaving fall. And I was watching the trees in the backyard, my backyard trees, since I have no idea what they are. But the leaves were coming down, and they were first, it looked like an auto race. You know, one leaf was chasing another leaf. Then it looked like ballet. It reminded me of watching a ballet, or doing ballet when I was taking classes. The pirouette, the leaf coming down as a pirouette, and it was like a dance, and the branches were getting naked. You know, the leaves were letting go. So I wrote a poem about it. And that's kind of how my poetry comes about, is by something will trigger it, an event or a memory, which is the title of my book, Memory Box. But it's, you know, it's a autobiography type of thing. It's something you remember, something pops up in your mind and you say, I've got to write about that. And you do. And sometimes they're terrible and sometimes they're okay.
So I just wanted to kind of just piggyback off of what everyone else said. For me, part of my writing process is it's almost like I go out into the world intentionally looking for struggle, strife, confusion, pain. I look for those things out in society, which is probably easy for me because 20 years as a social worker, social justice advocate, working with folks with mental health trauma, things going on. And so because my brain is always already looking at society, trying to understand, trying to figure out, which is what I've been doing my whole adult life, over 20 years, I've been trying to figure society out. And so part of my process is when I notice, kind of like what you guys said, when I feel that emotional tug, when it either gets my heart pumping fast or it gets those tears flowing, or, you know, I'm shaking, I'm trembling. Those are all signs to me that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, because I let the emotion lead the way. I try to remove the intellect. I try to remove the, you know, I guess I just try to work. I really try to work within the emotion. I really, really use the energy of the emotion to, yeah, to write. So I think you guys said that too, but, yeah, for sure. It's not like I come up with the thought, you know, like, oh, I want to write about. I literally almost never know what I want to write about. I mean, I swear, it really is quite spontaneous and random. If I see something in this world that makes me mad, guaranteed I'm gonna write and talk about it. Hands down. No other way to move forward. I gotta say some stuff. So anyway, thanks
That's
for that.
awesome. Thank you.
I think 20 years of just seeing a bunch of sad stuff day in and day out, it just feels like now my body's like, please purge and just say all these words and just all this sadness and all, you know. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Tasjha.
So diving in on what Tasjha said and everyone else has said, and to kind of circle into Jenny's question, like Tasjha, I mean, I write from emotion, but I live in this weird state of like constant voracious curiosity. And so, you know, when Jenny said, you know, where's the transformation, you know, in me or in the person I'm, you know, who reads or interacts with the words, instantly I sort of, this sort of Venn diagram popped into my head, you know, the Vesica Pisces, where you have the, you know, the sacred geometry form of two circles that overlap, and the piece inside is, you know, the great, you know, opening of the world. And for me, there's my presence, you know, and my curiosity, and then where that intersects with the person who then, you know, reads the results of that curiosity and that presence, and whatever words I've spewed out. And then what lives in that space is all of this interesting potential. You know, could it be transformation? Yes. Could it be boredom? Yes. But, you know, that to me, it's just this it's an ecotone of potential. And that's what I find fascinating. It's like that place where it all meets. So that's what I can say.
I love that. Thank you so much, Tracie. And that's an amazing note to end on, is just, yes, the ecotone of potential. I very much appreciate that. And Tasjha had noted in the chat like how much we were all talking about body today, or the writers, you know, like, and I think the potentiality and like being in our body is something really great to just stay earthed and in the next month, next few weeks, whatever you need. So I want to thank you all. Thank you to the audience for being here today. Thank you to the artists for sharing their work and thoughts. Thank you to Tracie as the managing director for doing the registration and announcements and social media, and Ashley for creating graphics and doing chat and monitoring during the event. For all of you, if this is your first time at a TLAN event, or if you're a longtime supporter, we thank you so much for being here. We are scheduling our, thank you, Judy. We are scheduling our 2025 virtual salons now. And if you're a TLAN member and would like to present at the next salon or any of the future salons, you can sign up at tlanetwork.org/virtual-salons. And if you're not a member and you see yourself and your community in the work and the conversation that was shared today, we would love to have you join as a member at tlanetwork.org/membership. So thank you, everybody, and we hope to see you at the next TLAN event, virtual salon, take a class, go to a workshop, whatever. We hope to see you soon. Thank you, everybody.